Hi, you may have seen one of my previous videos on how to multiply two-digit numbers. And it went something like this. 23 times 13. And I multiply the ones digits, and that would be 9. 3 times 3. Multiply the tens digits, and that would be 2. 2 times 1. And then I do the middle, and I multiply the outside. 2 times 3 is 6. 3 times 1 is 3, and then I'd add those two numbers together, and that would be 9. And the answer would be 299. And what I'm actually doing is, if we take a look at it, 23 times 13, what I'm doing is multiplying this number, these numbers, and then I crisscross. And then I keep going to the left, and I multiply this number. So 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 1 is 3. 2 times 3 is 6. 3 plus 6 is 9. And then here, 2 times 1 is 2. Okay? So that's the process. And this process works not only for two-digit numbers, but for three-digit numbers as well. So if I take a number, let's see, 123, and we'll make the number small, 2, 1, 2, and we multiply these. Okay, so what I'm doing is taking this first set. Okay, so we're gonna progress to the left, and we look at this first set of numbers, 2 times the 3, and that's 6. Then we move over to the left, and we include the next set. So we're looking at the set of 4 now. And we're going to multiply the 1 times the 3, 2 times the 2. Okay? So 1 times 3 is 3, 2 times 2 is 4, and that becomes 7, right? 3 plus 4 is 7. Okay? Then we keep progressing to the left, and instead of looking at this set, we're going to move over and include the next set. So we're looking at all three digits. And this is where it gets a little bit more tricky, where we're going to crisscross the corners like we did before. 3 times 2 is 6. 1 times 2 is 2. So we multiply the corners, and then we're going to multiply the middle. Okay, 2 times 1 is 2, and that gives us 10. So 0, and we carry the 1. And then the final step would be, or I'm sorry, not the final step. The next step would be to keep going to the left. Okay, so if you logically follow our progression, it went from these 2 to these 4 to these 6, and we're going to keep going left, and now it's just going to be these 4 again. Okay, and so it's going to be 2 times 2, and that's 4. 1 times 1, and that's 1, and that of course is 5, and I put the 5. And then finally, I'll get another color. And the last step is to just look at this group, the 2 and the 1, multiply that, and 2 times 1 is 2. And when we add it together with the carry, we get 6, 7, 0, 6, and 2. Okay, and if you get your calculator out, you'll see that I'm correct. Now, let's take a closer look and see exactly what we're doing here. And, you can decide whether it's easier or more work or less work. If we take a look at the standard way, the way I learned it in ancient times, it would be 123 times 212, and I'd multiply. We'll do it fast. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 1 is 2. And then we'll put a 0 there. 1 times 3, 1 times 2, 1 times 1. Now we put 2 zeros. 2 times 3, 2 times 2, 2 times 1. And then when we add together, we have 6, 7. This is 0. We carry the 1, 6, and 2. And you can see we get identical numbers. Now, looking at this example, it may seem, we're certainly writing less, doing a little bit more in our heads maybe. It looks like a lot less work. but in actuality, you're really multiplying the same amount of times. So if we take another look, 1, 2, 3 times 2, 1, 2. Okay, we're multiplying 2 times 3 times 2 times 1, right? We're multiplying 2 times these three numbers, so we multiplied 3 times. Then we take the ones and we multiply the 1 times 3 times 2 times 1. We multiply that 3 times. And then, of course, we take this final 2 and we multiply it times the 3 times the 2 times the 1. And we multiply that 3 times. So we multiplied, we did the process of multiplication of individual digits 9 times. Okay? If we look at the other process where it was, those crisscross things, and if you could look at the lines and just count with me. Here was the process. We multiplied here. All right, that's 1. And then here and here, right? 2, 3. Then we multiplied 4, 5, 6 times. Then we multiplied 7, 8 times. And then finally we multiplied a 9th time. So here we also multiply 9 times. So we're actually doing the same amount of multiplication. However, I feel, and you might feel too, that this method might, actually be a speedier way to do it. It'll certainly take some relearning, but possibly it could speed up things, and it's an interesting way of doing it. So that being said, you're actually doing the same amount of work. You're actually doing the same amount of multiplication and figuring out in your head. But in this method, we certainly have to write less. We take less time writing pencil to paper, and maybe we make less errors. I don't know. It all depends on your practice, I suppose. So that's the explanation, and so it's actually the same amount of work, give or take. So thanks for watching. I hope it was clear.